Alright guys, let's get started with this project. First of all, I'm going to show you the materials and the tools that I'll be using for this project. We're going to start off with the for sale signs that you can get at your local big box hardware store. This one is about 2 millimeters thick, and it's usually twice as long as this, but for the person that I'm doing this for shipped it to me. He didn't want to put it in a box, so he cut it down to fit in one of those mailing envelopes. Anyhow, I wish he had cut it the other way, but we have to work with what we have. Okay, we're going to have various straight edges, a utility knife with a brand new blade in it, a pair of scissors, a sanding block, weathering powder, and this is just a light gray that I had picked up from Home Depot. $3.95 for the paint. Either I'll be using a foam brush or a regular brush. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all the holes that are around the piece of plastic, and I'll show you how I do that. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Alright guys, we're back. In order for me to get a line as straight as possible, this is how I do it. I'll take my steel ruler, and I am assuming that the red line on there is pretty parallel, but I will measure it before I cut. And what I'll do is I'll put it here, and I will clamp it with my little C-clamps at each side, and possibly one in the middle if I can get one in there. Anyhow, once this is cut, like I said, I'll cut off all the extra holes and stuff that are around the entire border. Anyhow, we'll get on with that, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Alright guys, now that I have trimmed off all the bad parts, or parts that I won't be using because of the holes, here they are, and I won't throw these away. They'd be good for something along the line. Anyhow, the next step, and this is a very important step, you need to sand this down. Paint will not stick to this surface. I've tried it, and believe me, I failed a couple of times. Anyhow, I'm just using a 220 grit on a sanding block, and I'm just going to go over that to get the gloss off of it, and then I'll wipe it down clean, and then we'll cut the roads out. So stay tuned and we'll be back for that shortly. Alright guys, now that the cutting is all done, the next thing I need to do is measure the roads out. For this particular build, I'm doing the roads at 30 foot because I know the layout and I know how much room he's got. So I'll be cutting these at 30 foot and then adding all the graphics after it's painted. Anyhow, I got these two to cut out, and there's 8 sheets like this, so there'll be 8 sections of road. And I'll show you when I get to that. So stay tuned and we'll be back shortly. Alright guys, now you can see that I have both strips cut, and I do have it exactly 30 feet, 30 scale feet, and that is an HO scale rule. The next step is going to be painting them. Now you might be asking, why didn't I paint it before I cut it? Well, the reason for that is because I don't get the edges. This way it's already cut, and I get all the edges painted. And also, when I showed you the sanding part, I showed you sanding both sides. And the reason for that is, you need it to do for the painting, of course, and then the other side also helps it adhere to the layout when you're ready to mount it. Anyhow, stay tuned and we'll get to the painting of this situation. Be right back. Alright guys, now that the roadway has been painted, the next step is for me to start putting graphics on here. And what I'm going to be using, of course, is highways and byways, striping and graphics kit. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here, and I have added 2 pieces of masking tape. And the reason for that is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these up and draw my center line. And when I draw my center line, it'll be the same on every exact road, so no matter which position he uses this in, he'll be able to mix and match the roads. Anyhow, I don't know if you can see this, but I can zoom in there. I've already got my tick mark for the center line on both ends of this module. Anyhow, we'll take my 3-foot measuring deal, and I'll put it on here, and I'll just draw a light mark down on my center line. And now I have my center line. Now the fun part begins with adding some striping. So down the center of the road, I'm going to have the yellow stripes, and very easy. They peel and stick. And so we'll begin. And I'll begin this process, and I'll start it and go all the way down the entire lane, and then we'll add some more graphics, so I'll be back shortly. Alright guys, now that the striping is down, you notice I left a section undone here. That's so when I put my next road up, I would just continue this and I'd go right across the seam. Let's see if I can get you in here. Alright, so there's the seam, and I did go across the seam, but I also did cut it. So the next part of this is going to be adding all the graphics. Oops, sorry about that. And I'll show you how to do that in the next clip. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Alright guys, we're going to start with the graphics now. We're going to do the railroad crossing on the street. Anyhow, we're going to start with the stop line, and as you can see right here, I did draw my first mark, and I did use a square to make sure it was straight. These are a bit different. These are kind of like dry transfers. You got to get them off the backing, and I just use my knife and just peel it back a bit. And this could be a little bit tedious. Anyhow, once you peel it off, you're going to pardon my head while I get my head in the way here. And we're just going to stick it down. Try and get it on that line. And once that's down, get your burnishing stick and just go ahead and burnish it in, just as if you guys were doing a dry transfer. And one thing to remember is when you peel it up, peel it slow, because if it doesn't stick down, you'll have to re-burnish it. So just lay it right back down and put it in there. So let's see how this guy came out. Don't be afraid to push on these either. They're pretty durable. And let's see if that one worked. Having a little bit of a problem here. It's not staying down here in the corner. So we'll push a little bit harder. And maybe we'll peel it up from the other side this time. See if it's stuck down. Alright guys, I had a little problem with the other one. The burnish stick I was using was a little bit too sharp, so I went to the end of a paintbrush since it's nice and rounded. Anyhow, just go ahead and peel it up nice and slow. And there you go. You got your first graphic down. Now, this guy, he's going to be a little tougher because he's a bit bigger. And we're going to put him right about there. Give a little tick mark where I want it. And the same process. We'll peel it off and we'll put it down. It's best to use a brand new blade, but when you do this, it's nice and sharp and it gets right between the papers. Anyhow, we'll go ahead and peel this one off. And these HO ones are a bit different than the N scale. Alright, there we go. And now we'll put this in position where I want it. Make sure it's fairly straight. And stick it down. And I give it a little rubby-dub-dub with my fingers. And then I'll go ahead and burnish it. Anyhow, I'll do the burnishing off camera and I'll bring you back when it's on. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Alright guys, as you can see, the Revo graphics are down. I just needed to use a rounded burnishing stick rather than a squared burnishing stick. Anyhow, I will do 4 of these with the railroad crossing and then 4 plain ones like this, so he can attach these in any configuration that he wants. Anyhow, the only step left for this now is to do some weathering, and we'll get to that as soon as I can, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Alright guys, this is always the scary part for me because I'm not 100% sure about my weathering, but we're going to go ahead and do some weathering on this road and see how it turns out. This is a gray, medium gray powder, and I have a fairly stiff brush right here, and what I'm going to do is I'll dip the brush into the powder and I'll flick some of it off over here, and then I will just go ahead and put them up the middle here like so, and I'll just take my finger and rub it in. Now I know that looks kind of dark right now, but I will take a rag or a paper towel, whichever is most convenient, and I will go ahead and just rub it down like that. Oops. Pick up my brush here, and now we'll go ahead and do the other side. And again, I'll just rub it in with my fingers. John Howard liked my method so much that he did it on his roads, and they came out awesome, so take a look at his video on Facebook, I believe it was. And again, once that's done, I'll go ahead and take my rag and massage it in. Wipe off all the excess. and I'll just keep playing with this until I'm happy what it looks like. But anyhow, you guys get the general idea. When all this is said and done, I will be doing a seal with dull coat on here, so everything stays the way it is and you can handle it as many times as you want. Anyhow, this will conclude how I do my roads. I think they come out pretty good. We'll see how Jack likes it. This is for Jack Jackson. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, your questions, comments, input, and subs are always welcome. If you have any questions, get in touch with the email that Gino is going to supply, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So, thanks for watching again, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.